So, welcome again. This series is all about who am I? It's a direct approach. It demands understanding, lot of contemplation and reflection. So, contemplation and reflection removes the ignorance. We all are aware of the sun and the moon has a reflected light of the sun. If I say the sun is sunlight and the reflected sunlight is the moon. So when we take the moonlight as the sunlight, that is what a mistaken identity. So what is that mistaken identity? Sorry. Mistaken identity is that if moonlight can be compared to our ego, the false I. So there comes a question, can we destroy this ego? Answer is no. If we destroy the ego, we do not exist, physically, mentally. But the consciousness is all pervading. Sun is, take an example in this case. Remember, these metaphors are not equal. We have to extract the knowledge part. So what happens to that ego? When you say that ego is the problem, the false I is the problem, have you seen the moonlight? Yes. Have you seen the moonlight? Moonlight is there. And now, as we pass from the dark night to the morning, what happens to the moonlight? Can you say the moon disappear? Or the moon still exists? What happens in the afternoon? That moon still exists, but the role of the moon is reduced to minimum. That is what happens in the awakening. That is the only thing we have to recognize. That is one example that I'm giving you. Moonlight, we see there is no sun. So you can equate that moonlight with full of ignorance. And as the day returns, that there is a dawn, we see a little bit of some shadow of the moon, and in the afternoon the moonlight and the moon is not there. Moonlight is there, but moon is not there. So the false I is not there. That is the journey of recognizing who am I. So I recognize myself as the sun. Sun means here is the real self. That is how. So those people who say get out, again, we have to understand two more things. One thing is that we have to understand what exactly is the false I or the ego in the Eastern wisdom. And normally we talk of the ego as opposite of humility, opposite of kindness, opposite of, or you can say it is an arrogance. No, we are not talking of that ego. We are talking of that ego which is the false I superimposed on the real self, and it acts as the real. Why it acts as it is a false? Because that false I keeps on understanding that I am the body-mind complex. Body, mind, complex, life is false I. And behind that, there is a pure consciousness. this master says, let us understand through the metaphor. In the first metaphor, we understood that there is a canvas, it is starched, and after it is starched, there is a sketch. So you create a sketch on the canvas, you created a mountain, you created your all the family members, and then we see only the painting. We don't see the canvas. Canvas does not change. So it is superimposed. So from the first metaphor, he has taken it is the subtle body that is the sketching, which is the mind and the false eye. And the painting over it, it disappears, everything, the canvas dissolves completely and we are not aware. It does not dissolve, but it appears true. What appears true is the canvas, painting. What is that painting? I live my personal life, professional life, married life, I have some problem, I marry and I divorce. They all are the work of the false eye. Consciousness does not change. Consciousness does not change. We are just recapping so that we can come to the topic of today. Then we had another metaphor. You are listening to me, I am talking to you, and there are a lot of people, so we have many individual consciousnesses. The false eye does not want to accept this, that there is only one consciousness. So this master uses another metaphor. It says there is a part space. Part space is individual self, and the space only in the individual is the consciousness. So we always see others as individual consciousness. We always see others as a part spaces. And that false eye keeps on feeding that information that we all are separate. You are male, I am female, you are man, you are man, the other is a woman. Depending on the age factor, depending on the color, depending on the expertise, that is all about the individual consciousness, and we find that we are separate. You remove all these factors, what is left? What is a common factor? The common factor is the consciousness. So he says, I'm going slowly. Pay attention that I'm summarizing, and then I will come to the main topic of today. So there is a space in the part is the real self, but when I take it collectively as a part space, that is an individual self. And that individual self is represented as a false eye. But there is a space outside also, there is an infinite space. And that is the supreme consciousness. Why we say it is the supreme consciousness? Because it is infinite, it is all pervading, it is everywhere. But what about the space inside the body? Is it not all pervading? Space cannot be divided. Space cannot be divided. It is still pervading. So we resolve that conflict that the space inside the pot cannot be separated from the space outside, so they both are one, with reference to the entire world that is known as the supreme consciousness, which you can say as a God in the beginning. We will define the God later. And with reference to the individual, it is the real self. With reference to a person, you are a father. With reference to another person, you are a brother. So the reference point is the body-mind complex. That is why I say I am an individual. Fact is that I am a supreme consciousness, undivided. When? All the time. In what location? All the location. Because we don't recognize, so Master says you are living in ignorance. So we have to resolve first is, at the macro level. Macro level, the entire world. We also sometimes use the word material consciousness. That is false, superimposed on the supreme consciousness. That is the second consciousness. Third conscious, two consciousness at the micro level. From the standpoint of the individual body mind, it is the individual self, and inside that there is a real self. What is real self? It is a consciousness. Now question comes, another question master puts, and then he answers. First he says there is a timeless confusion. Since we are born, we live into that ignorance. Because the way the mind has been educated, culturally, socially, religiously, we are heavily conditioned. And we continue to live in the ignorance. What is ignorance? Here the ignorance means missing one thing and taking as another. But why we take that? The master answers, because of we lack the discernment. What is discernment? That we are not able to separate what is real and what is false. And the famous example in the Eastern wisdom, we say that you are going for an evening walk, the sun little bit appears, and in that dusk you see the snake. The snake is superimposed on the rope. Fact is that it is not a snake. From where that snake has come? Simple answer, because we have been conditioned heavily since our childhood to believe, to trust, to think, to speak and act through the individual self. We take it for granted that I am the body and the mind. I am the body and the mind. Even when we are 100% clear in deep sleep, we are neither the body nor the mind. Even in the dream body is different from the real body. Do you see that? In dream, we are aware that this body is still lying on. That is why we say it is a dream. And the another body is working and chasing something, drinking and eating. So Master makes it clear, not recognizing the real self as the real, but recognizing the real self as a reflected consciousness. What is this reflected consciousness? It is the false self. It is the moon. It is the moonlight. That we keep our ego completely at the individual level. This is what we have understood. Have you ever thought of it? When we live in ignorance, the power of ignorance is much greater than the power of knowledge. You insulted me, you cheated me, and you see the power of ignorance. I allowed myself to be cheated. Can I use a different phrase? Why I allowed myself to be cheated? Because I got attached to you. Do you see that? The false I says, no, I am the real self and you cheated me. You are responsible for my stress and suffering in this life. Enough is enough. After living for 20 years, I got another, I won't use the word client, I have left it and I don't want to talk about her. And just, last year, he was talking so much about her. And then we claim we are intelligent. The Master says if you are really intelligent discerns and discovers the peace and happiness 24/7 and lives in peace and happiness. Well, that is the point of understanding. So now see, the power of ignorance becomes much greater than the power of knowledge. You are the real self. No, no, you are okay. I take it for granted. I love you. That's why I say that. When you say I'm real self, I accept it. Are you crazy? If I say that, you start reacting to it. So you prove that you are crazy. Don't you prove that you are crazy? That is the power of ignorance. I can give you a lot of examples. I'm going slowly. So now see that. And also in American proverb, which is very famous, ignorance is bliss. Because I'm not aware of my real nature, so I get attachment, and the detachment I find, if everything works according to my ego, according to my pleasure principle, then ignorance is bliss. I'm laying a context, in order to go a little deeper. Not very difficult to understand. As long as I like something, I am, and that something is near me, it is pleasing to me, I experience the happiness. And this is happening in the mind. And the same mind, with the same person, after a few weeks and the months, says, I hate you. So now your nearness is displeasing to me. It is happening in me. It is happening in my mind. This is what we talk about, the ignorance. As long as I'm eating sugar, it is giving me pleasure, it is good. And then the doctor says you will die if you keep on eating sugar. The sugar is a poison. Means I become the center of the entire universe while eating, while dressing myself, while doing everything. Do you see the kind of selfishness we are talking about? That is ignorance. We have to get rid of this ignorance. At one time, there is a pleasure of finding the soulmate, and then there is a fear of losing. This is what is happening to our life in the ignorance. We are going little at a subtler level. Every action in the world done by the false I has two components. I want. I want you because I love you, I care you, you are my soulmate. I'm telling you, two components. So because I like, first component. False I always contains the two components. One, we have to understand it clearly. Every time you think, you speak, you act of anything in the world, find out if there are two components, it is the false I. So the first component, I like you, I love you, I want your closeness, so called the intimacy, and then soulmate. Behind that, the mind always keeps the other component, that is of disliking. That is why after a few weeks we say, I like all these your attitude, but here I have some reservation. Do you see? Point of ignorance. I like means I like simply, 100%. So I have divided myself. So I have a fragmented perception of the world outside. Why? 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 Because I is important, false I is important. What I see, what I say is right. Yesterday you were my honey, now you are my. You see, it comes from the I. It has nothing to do with the properties, attitude of the other person. It is already present in me. Why? Because I carry all my activities with the false I, my friends. That is why we keep on thinking. A single, I don't want to be tough in the words, that we will gradually move into. Master uses a very strong words for it. So now, false I, what happens with the false I? We say life is a series of experiences internally based on opposite experiences of likes and dislikes, pain and the pleasure, and a long list of opposite experiences. False I lives nurtured, nourished by these opposite likes and dislikes. And we lose the right perception. When there is no right perception, we consider that you are a different individual. I don't see you because you are not the same person I saw you 10 years ago. Really? Fact is that you are not the same person. You don't have a right perception. You have a cataract in your eyes. You have a cataract. Cataract means cataract in the mind. Mind side. Because I explained you 10 years ago as a different person and now as a different person based on my ignorance. Simple thing. I'm attached to someone, something, some situation. I'm detached to something, some situation, some person. I have a different thought process. I see the words differently. In the New Jersey session, how is your weather? And she smiled. I said, I will also ask you, how is the weather in January and February? In New Jersey, it's a snow. I said, don't tell me. I won't tell you what is the temperature. I'm happy with where I am. This individual self, this false I, goes with these opposite experiences all the time. All the time, the moment you wake up in the morning until you retire to the bed. This is the moonlight. What understanding we need? Moonlight, there is no moonlight. That we need to understand. So when you understand there is no moonlight, you drop all the likes and dislikes, all the opposites. From the moonlight, I say, Stephen is good and another person is bad. From that moonlight. That is superimposed. That is the ignorance. That we need to remove. By how? By understanding. So ignorance means taking reflected consciousness as the real I, taking the false I as the real I. It's a timeless confusion. It's a mistake. We say it is ignorance, we sometimes say it is the root cause of all our suffering. Why? We miss one thing and we take as another. We take as another. Many masters says that we are suffering from this emotional and a mental and intellectual disease. We are unable to recognize its true nature of the pure consciousness. Consciousness has no likes and dislikes. Another way to understand, ignorance means ignorance is that power which disables our power of cognition that can give us the right knowledge. And it is happening all the time. All the time it is happening. And that is why my mind is busy. Oh, that guy who came, that's his guy, he's a good guy. Ah, she is not good. Why the mind is thinking about it? Are you the God who are taking stock of every human being on this earth? You see how the ignorance changes the shades and the colors all the time. Terry has stopped saying anything to her maid. Mind keeps on thinking about it. Why? Terry doesn't feel bad, that's why I can name it. So, this false I takes the full time job of my life and causes the stress. I'm using different words so that your mind can absorb that. It takes the full time job. When you wake up in the morning until you retire to the bed, you retire to the bed with lot of the thoughts which has an opposite experiences, so you disturb your sleep. You wake up in the morning, the entire life is disturbed. Unnecessarily. It is not required. Once I have completed the session, what I need to think about it? No. Done. I just put it on the YouTube. I send the audio file. This is not my property now. Look at it. So we are just understanding the ignorance has such a great power. It's such a great power. It is because of this we enter into anxiety, duality, reaction, anger, stress, suffering. Full-time job of this false I. Why? Because again I'm repeating, because we have taken false I as the real I and we have given it a full-time job of move with the likes and dislikes, pain and the pleasure, comparison, poor and the rich, a long list. So now the master is asking the question and answering why this happens. So the simple answer, the non-recognition of our original nature or the consciousness as the real self. And we are born with that ignorance. So that state in the mind is known as the ignorance. That is the root ignorance. To simplify, check yourself at this moment. At this moment, what the mind says, I am not the body or I am the body. It keeps on. It continues. That ignorance is the root of our being, thought space. It is intrinsic, it is primitive. So our master says, unless, because we are given a free intellect, intellect means our human intellect is free will. We can understand there are many options to understand this, which is right or wrong, or to understand this is only the right. That is why master says we can remove ignorance by knowledge, by understanding. You need not to practice. Our Saturday session is not practicing, but entering into that state by understanding. I am the body. If I am not the body, I cannot claim this is my house. If I am not the body, I cannot claim what I am saying is right or wrong. So, identification with the body, identification with the clay pot and not recognizing the space inside is the problem. So the moment I am the body, then this belongs to me, this is me, and that is mine. So me and mine is another way to explain is the understanding of false life. You wake up in the morning, there is no thought at all. You are fully aware, you are calm and relaxed. Suddenly a thought comes, it is representing the false I. Then you said that we have to get rid of the false I. We have to get rid of the false I the way you don't see the moon in the afternoon. You don't see it. It is still present. Moonlight is also present. There were a lot of confusions I could see. Moonlight is still present. So in ignorance that there is a full moon, so we use this false I, but its role is minimum. In the sunlight, moon is there, moonlight is there, but they are disabled to function according to the likes and dislikes, according to the pain and the pleasure, according to the duality, according to the wrong perception that you are different from me. Then one can recognize there is only one consciousness. This is all about the context. Yes, this is all about the context, and then we'll talk in detail. I'll tell you. Master says there are two powers of ignorance. That is the main topic. We have understood that ignorance, but now there are two powers of ignorance. We are going deeper. That power of ignorance, any power has function. So that is why we say there are two powers. Any power. It is represented by a function. So ignorance is a power, so obviously it has two powers. One is the power to project, and the other is power to conceal, hide. Now see, who am I? I am the body-mind complex. Where is the projection and what is hidden? Find out. We are going deeper. This master takes to the journey of very deeper. We need an extraordinary awareness and attention to find out two powers of ignorance. One power is to conceal. My honey is not so good now. Find out. It is ignorance. It has two powers. Power to hide, power to project. Are you understanding? What I projected and what I hide. I hide the man or a woman in my honey, and what I projected. Are you understanding? Are you getting it? We are going deeper. In every activity of life, when we are living in ignorance, we conceal and we hide due to the power of ignorance. And that creates a delusion in the mind. I wake up in the morning, I have a lot of stress. In the afternoon, I am happy now. Power to hide and power to project. What I projected, the stress. What I hide, consciousness can never be in stress. Consciousness does not have the stress. That is the main topic I wanted to come before I explain. Vidya has two forms. So we say in Sanskrit it is Avaran Shakti and is Vikshepa Shakti, projecting power. You put the mirror before the sun and the sunlight is reflected somewhere else, projecting, reflection. But at the same time, because I'm totally absorbed into that light which is falling on the wall where the sunlight is not there, I hide the sun. I believe you're getting it. We'll continue, we'll understand this in many ways. The power of veiling the reality. Where it lives, it is in the mind. When it has come since the beginning, ignorance is at the beginning, the moment we were born. We started expecting happiness from the other, and the mother helped us. In one way, the mother fed us the milk, that is, they help us to survive. But they also hide it, concealed that the happiness is within me. But I was not aware. So only after a mental maturity we can enter into this kind of a yoga. No worries, even if you don't understand, say, oh, thank you. It is coming from the false side. You are the real self. Do you see that? Do you see? Again, it is projecting. That is the problem. That is why our journey master says, no, my friend, you have to listen to the teacher and repeat listening until you reach to that point. Mind may be saying, what the heck, this guy is taking us to the dream. No, I'm not taking you to the dream, I'm taking you to the reality. That is another projection by the mind. When I don't understand, I say, oh, you're taking us to the dream, I'm a practical person. That is why you are suffering. You're a practical person. That is why you're suffering. I'm a clay pot. That is why I'm suffering. Why I'm a clay pot? You see, again, I'm using different expressions for these two powers of ignorance. So when I'm a clay pot, I feel limited. When I feel limited, I have a sense of insecurity. So there is no fear as such because of the feeling of insecurity present in the mind because of real self is hidden, which is of the nature of fearlessness. Concealed, and I expressed it. Gone. We are. Then we say, I'm suffering, I have lot of problems in my life. I have pain. My honey is not listening to me. But neighbor is listening to me. Now my attachment has gone to somebody else. So obviously. So you see, in both the cases, you have concealed something, your mind. Ignorance has two power. I'm stressing on that part. I'll take it again. So ignorance has concealed something and ignorance has projected something. Projected happiness in the neighbors and concealed fear. Or you can just do the opposite. I'm just giving you a lot of things that are happening every day. In India, we say, you see that? Look at the neighbor's wife is so committed. What I'm projecting. What I'm projecting. It's a common saying in India. And it says same thing. The wife also says, you should look at, the wife says to the husband, look at this, neighbors, The husband is always participating. They go to the kitchen and cook the food. Now, I'm just giving you a very simple example. You can extend it to the highest level of conflict and stress. So, understanding two powers of the ignorance, yeah, I have to extract, I have to find out, I have to be aware. The intellect is free, that free intellect, let me find out what is being conceived and what is being projected. Remove both. Ignorance is gone. You are always in mindfulness, you are always in meditation. That is what is known as awakening. Eyes are closed. Close your eyes, my friends. Pay attention. It's a very subtler level of projection. Where is the projection? That is what I'm referring. We are going to the highest level, and if you don't pick up, I have a liberty to come down. But if I start with the lowest level, so then it becomes a little problem. So that is why I'm challenging the ignorance through your awareness. What is the challenge that I'm making? Eyes are closed. Find out what is concealed and what is projected. How can I find it here? Because I cannot find it here. So then that is why the master says, okay, first be comfortable. Pay attention. I'm taking you to that simple journey, living in an extraordinary awareness, my friends. So what is that journey now? Say what I have been saying. Look at the neck joint. I created a projection to remove the projection created by the ignorance. That is the thing. No, I don't. Just follow this. So when you are aware of the neck joint, what happens? You have an experience of sensation, comfort, and steadiness. Did you work on the neck joint to experience that? No. So because you did not work, you did not conceal and hide anything, that's why you experienced that. It's not difficult, but it's a difficult, but it's not impossible. And then what I said, now be aware of the space. And then I said, space is awareness and awareness is the space. What I'm pointing you out. Can you figure out? I'm pointing you out that space is different from the clay pot. Did you get it? That space is different from the clay pot. The real self is different from the false I. That is what I have been pointing for the last couple of weeks. Even sometime on Mondays and Thursdays session, I point out, can you see it clearly? That consciousness is independent of anything and everything. Let us see. So actually we are not doing anything. We are just moving the mind. We become aware. We see what is concealed, what is projected. What is concealed and projected, they both are part of the ignorance, and what is left is the knowledge. Maybe look at the entire body. Then I will not go to the next step, but I will focus on today's session, what we understood. So you are looking at the body, you experience sensation, comfort, and steadiness in the body. and the space inside. Your mind is moving, space inside. Why I stressed on the point that the space is awareness and the awareness is space. Did you get it? Real self versus the individual self. Real I versus the false I. Sun versus the moon, or sunlight versus the moonlight. The mind drops what is being concealed and what is being projected, and there is a kind, if I say, I should not say, but for the sake of understanding, it's a kind of self absorption. This is what the master is pointing out. Many masters give you the practice, other masters like this. We are learning from this master. He says, no, you need only an understanding, you don't need a practice. Understanding means cause and effect. I told you before. And what is the ultimate cause? Space is awareness, and awareness is space. Body is unconscious, matter. Any thought is a matter. So I brush it aside because any thought, any object in the world is matter. It is a clay pot. It is only a clay in the pot. This is what is the meaning of removing the power of concealing by the ignorant mind and the power of projection by the. Why only sensation, comfort, and steadiness? Just be aware of the body. Say, for example, you have discomfort and the pain. That is also an experience. That is a projection. Why? Real self is concealed. So I take I am the body, so I have a pain. I am the mind, so I have a pain. Even behind that, there is a space, and space is awareness, and awareness is space. No, entire journey cannot be expressed in language. That is why we have to learn and understand these terms to see the exact nature of the ignorance. We are not taught to know as ourselves as the real self or the pure consciousness. So the ignorance continues. Pick up any so called step. We are not taking any step. Look at the breath. You are looking at the breath. Consciousness enlivens in the body with the life force is a projection. That is what we need to explore. I'm leaving that part here again by repeating. I'm aware of the breath in the mind that lives in ignorance. It exactly claims I am a live person. First I'm conscious, then I'm alive. If I'm not conscious, there is nothing to be alive or not alive. The life breath or the breath does not tell me that I'm alive. You see what is concealed and what is projected. And that is why ignorant people say breath is the life. No, consciousness is the life. And that is what this master removes layers of ignorance, layers by layers by layers, by making us understand. No religion, no dogma, no cult, no belief. Looking at the breath, understanding that this is nothing but a projection. When I say looking at the breath, is the breath looking at the breath, or are you conscious? Yes, I'm conscious. That's why I'm looking. I'm a knower. I'm a witness. That is very important point. So I'm just looking at the movement of the breath in the body without projecting that the life, breath is the life. Why? I'm 100% clear that first I'm conscious of anything, then I know. I'm the knower. Why? I'm consciousness. Then I know I am breathing. So again, you say I am breathing, body mind complex. Oh, so it means I do not exist if I don't breathe. False. I exist as a moon in the moonlight in the afternoon sun. It is there. Looking at the breath again, I've explained in many ways. Looking at the breath. Now see that how the projection and the concealing factor works here. So mind says breathing, yes. So breath is going in and breath is coming out. Pay attention. The mind recognizes the breath is going inside me or inside the body. Breath is going out of the body or going out of me. So we have such a strong identification that I am the body. If the breath goes out, never returns, I am dead. Fact is, I am consciousness. It has nothing to do with. So now you see. So now we are looking the breath, movement of the breath. We are recognizing that movement of the breath inside and outside is happening in the body, not in me. We discussed this about uh, the part space, and in that space you put the water. So now it has become a water space. Water space can come and go. It can become a tea space. It can become coffee space. But the very space continues to exist. It does not undergo any change. Can you understand? That is the projection. No worries. Just follow that, I'll make you, this master will help us understand. Because even if your mind claims you do not understand, that is another projection. So just be carefree and casual. Looking at the breath again, I'm going back. So we are clear now that this breath, so called, going in and out into the body, not in me and out of me. What it means by discernment, I understand I am not the body, not the breath. So when I am not the body, not the breath, there is no identification with the pain and pleasure, duality and a conflict and a relationship and a situation and a condition. They all belong to the body, breath, and the mind. Like the clay pot, you have a clay pot of different color, of different sizes, and sometimes it breaks up at the top corner. That is what is the pain, pleasure, duality, conflict in us. I'm still independent of that experiences which takes place in the mind. So, with that awareness, you are looking any thought, any feeling, any sensation, you are exploring the two powers of the ignorance. When you explain the power of ignorance, ignorance means what appears true is not true. What is left is the pure awareness. This ignorance is not easy to grasp, but by constant understanding, listening and learning, contemplation and reflection, we reach to that state. Shanti, Shanti, Shanti. Om. Shanti, Shanti, Shanti. Om. Shanti, Shanti, Shanti. Om. Shanti. Shanti, Shanti. Bring your mind on the right hand, the mind on the left hand. Lift your both the palms, place it on your eyes. Open the eyes inside. Know your experiences, bring the hands down. We'll share our experiences if you have any question. Welcome. How are you, Stephen?
Good, thank you. The I truly like the metaphor of understanding the sun and the sunlight and the moonlight and the comparison to the reflective consciousness, and it's very simple to understand. You talk about ignorance and the projection and the concealing, and it completely makes sense. I couldn't stop thinking about it before we closed our eyes, about the power of ignorance, and the only way that the ignorance has power is if we choose to give it the power. So with that being said, it really made me just process this listening and learning, and contemplation, reflection, and discernment, dispassion is just this instantaneous process that has to take place in order to not give the ignorance the power.
Yeah.
And then it truly separates and makes you understand what is false, the false I, and then what is the real self. And like I've brought up and said to you before, is that it's, for me, I'm not saying that I'm in search of the real self. I've realized that the real self is there. I don't need to search for it. What I need to do is understand when the false I is present and not give it its power. And that's what was going on through this. And then once we closed our eyes, I was completely absorbed and didn't realize anything that was going on until you said, raise your hands. So thanks.
Beautiful, Stephen, you rightly put it. And it is also good to keep on contemplating and reflecting about these two powers of ignorance, the power of concealing and the power of projection. And the moment you are at the point of awareness, you recognize it is not there. And when it is not there, you are into that state. So yes, one thing what he is saying, that it demands a constant contemplation and reflection. How are you, David and Jerry?
Thank you, sir. Really good. The first time ever, I actually brought my journal and wrote notes down during your
Good.
portion, and I function really well when I do that in life. So consequently, I found my meditation to be extremely deep, because I didn't have to worry about remembering or thinking about anything. I can just reflect on it later. So it was unique and very deep.
Very deep, yes. Do you remember when I came to your house first time? First time you also wrote a journal. I talked about something, and then I said, no, he has a potential. Yeah. How are you, Jerry?
Sir, I'm good, thank you. I find it funny, like I find the humor in the talk, because the ignorance does complicate our lives if we allow it. And it is so simple and so silly when the ignorance is taken over. But it's simple to just see, the projection of something on something else, or the attachment, or the concealing and the hiding. And so I too like that a lot.
Beautiful, beautiful. And one thing that you said, I remember what my master used to say. He used to say that if you do not make fun of your anxiety, if you do not make a mockery of your stress, it will never go. You will deepen your ignorance. That is what, she pointed. I'm just helping you to reveal what is going on in your head. How are you, Terry?
During the meditation, I felt like I went that I traveled very far
Good.
into a deep space,
Yeah.
and yet that was all right here.
You see, you have to understand that when you say that you travel too far, too deep into the space, you are uncovering that projection and the concealment. You are going too far from the projected consciousness and concealing consciousness. Yeah.
Letting go of it.
Yeah, that is what happens. But it's a little, I cannot say it's a very long way to go. Any day one gets the essence and it is done. Then it cannot be reversed. We have to reach to the point. It cannot be reversed. When it cannot be reversed, that is what is known as awakening. That is why we say meditation results into awakening. And after sleep, we wake up and we wake up to the same world. Same world, same stuff, same ignorance, same. That is the difference. How are you, Dennis?
I'm good, and I appreciate the talk, the different angle that you presented today to look at our ignorance using these two powers. And another thing I recalled related to this is an old saying. I don't remember one. I think it was one of the masters who said that we don't need to search the truth. We need to remove ignorance, and the truth will emerge by itself.
Yes, you rightly understood. That is why I have to remove the ignorance, and to remove the ignorance, I have to bring in the knowledge. I don't need the practice. You rightly said. That's a wonderful way to pick up the lesson. I had a thought, instantly these thought comes, when Dennis said that I appreciate your talk. Very appreciation of the talk is also a projection, but this projection is helping you. So, this thought instantly came in. I said, okay, but then I could not stop myself. We will talk about that. How are you? Vaibhav?
Thank you, sir. Sir, I'm good. With this, that the power of ignorance, how I led to myself that what I projected, like my past memories and my futures.
Yeah.
But what I conceive is the present moment. I don't realize that I am here and it's easy that I can be here all the time. All the past and the future memories is nothing but I'm thinking in the present moment only.
It's a beautiful, you see that why we share our experiences. Everyone brings forth something new. So what he is saying that if I'm talking of the past or the future, there is some concealment and there is some projection. So should I stop talking about the future and just talk like a moonlight in the afternoon sun? Just talk like that. Do everything. No, do everything does not mean that you do everything. We have to be mindful. How are you, Ashok?
Sir, I am good and fine. Peaceful, calm, relaxed.
Peaceful,
Nothing
calm,
sir.
and relaxed. Wonderful. So you see, this week on this topic, the moment any thought comes to your mind says, I'm anxious, I'm worried. don't get carried away by that experience, but find out what is being concealed and what is being projected. There and then. That is all for today. Thank you very much.
Thank you, sir.
Thank
Thank
you, sir.
you, sir. Thank you.
Namaste.
Namaste.